8.3 Death, Dying, and Forgiveness. One loss that we all shall face at some time is death of others and our own. Jefferson Smith asked, "What, though, does a caregiver say or do in those awkward moments of life when the scent of death is everywhere, when the reality of such is pierced by wailing or silent shock?" One response is that of Thomas Oden. "Only by being there as one who is shepherd of souls in the presence of death do we learn what to say, in part by listening to what is being said. If we let the person tell us where he or she is, we will soon learn how best to respond. Each person is unique, and hence each death is unique." In many Western cultures, there is a subtle denial of death through euphemisms. Watch the video of Patch Adams, the scene where he trades euphemisms with a dying man. Can you think of some other examples? Visit the Australian Bureau of Statistics and look at the table on the causes of death in Australia. Here you will find that in 2013, the leading cause of death was heart disease. This was followed by dementia and Alzheimer's disease. In the ancient world, death was seen as the departure of the breath of life. Today, death and the process of dying can be seen from many perspectives: the biomedical, the psychological, the social, the philosophical, and the religious or theological. From a biomedical perspective, dying is a process involving physical changes involving the cessation of bodily functions. However, alongside the physical, there is also the death of the person. Watch the video, Dying in the 21st Century. Every journey towards death is different. As a pastoral carer, you may be supporting both the person who is dying and family and friends of those who are dying. The process of dying may be taking place in the home, an institution such as a nursing home or hospice, or in a hospital. In 1969, Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross published her book on death and dying. This book is a record of conversations which she had with her patients about their impending deaths. For her, the dying were her teachers. These conversations record the shock of the news of terminal illness and the processes which people underwent as they came to terms with their impending deaths. Contrary to widespread opinion, On Death and Dying is not a book on grief and bereavement. It is a record of observations of some of the emotional reactions to dying. From reflecting on her observations and on those conversations, Kubler-Ross proposed 5 stages. She states that these stages overlap, occur simultaneously, may be missed, and may be revisited. The model is an exploratory tool. What is significant about the book is that Kubler-Ross draws attention to the importance of listening to the needs of the dying. For a humorous depiction of the 5 stages, watch the video Quicksand.
Uh-oh. It's no big deal. It's probably not even quicksand. I'm gonna have a good laugh about this tonight with the guys. Well, this is just perfect. Stupid quicksand. Stupid jungle. I want to bite someone in the face. Mother. Ah! That stupid jungle. Are you there, God? It's me, Giraffe. Listen, if you would just give me a mulligan on this quicksand thing, I promise, No more peeing on your shorter creatures. What, you get a deal? You know something? I'm cool with this. I bet heaven has all the tender leaves I can eat, and everyone gets their own Slurpee machine. Yeah, take me, sweet death. I await your loving embrace. What? I think I hit the bottom.
Kübler-Ross's work may have been influenced by the work of Lindemann in the 1940s on bereavement. He describes the process of good grief. Here the bereaved come to accept death. As the video showed, Kübler-Ross suggested 5 stages in coming to accept death. The goal of this process is acceptance and letting go. Her model is considered by some to be outdated, and its clinical validity is questioned. However, the model does situate the process of dying in the larger framework of loss, in this case, the loss of one's life. Some of the spiritual issues which people face as they are dying include lack of meaning and purpose, hopelessness, despair, the fear of not being remembered, guilt and shame, anger at God or others, abandonment by God or others, feeling out of control, spiritual pain or suffering, mistrust, and lack of forgiveness or reconciliation. In their book, Don't Forgive Too Soon, the Linds apply Kübler-Ross's model to forgiveness. Forgiveness and reconciliation can be important issues for a dying person, and so I am going to take a detour and look at forgiveness briefly. The following is an exercise drawn from the book Don't Forgive Too Soon. Imagine you are on a cruise. Your ship sinks and you paddle a lifeboat to a deserted island. Who is the person you would least like to have with you in your boat? How do you feel when you imagine living with this person on the island? The person you think of is probably someone with whom you have an unhealed hurt. The forgiveness of sins has been in Christianity since its beginning. At the beginning of his public ministry, Jesus went to be baptized by John, who was proclaiming a baptism of repentance for the forgiveness of sins. In his own ministry, Jesus not only preached the repentance of sins, but he also forgave sins. The Lord's Prayer provides a model for reconciliation in which Christians are called upon to forgive others. Forgiveness may be associated with several different characteristics and attitudes. For instance, it may be likened to a passive and meek stance in which a person accepts a situation. Forgiveness may be thought of in terms of its past and forgotten. The slate has been wiped clean. Forgiveness is not. In a workshop on forgiveness, Deborah Seuss identified several misconceptions linked with forgiveness. She suggested that forgiveness is not a spirit of indifference, an antidote to hurting, forgetting, assuming the relationship can be just the same as before the offense, necessarily a reconciliation with the offender, in any way justification or condoning of harmful actions, pardoning, the same as accepting, the same as excusing, or the same as tolerating. It is possible to modify our emotional states. However, the danger in on-reflective change is that problematic emotions, including anger, may be denied or suppressed rather than integrated and transformed. In their book, Don't Forgive Too Soon, the Lins identify 5 stages in forgiveness modeled upon the 5 stages of death and dying postulated by Kubler-Ross. These are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. The first stage, denial. In dying, I don't ever admit I'm dying. In forgiveness, I don't admit I was hurt. The second stage, anger. It's their fault that I'm dying. In forgiveness, it's their fault I'm hurt. The third stage, bargaining. I set up conditions to be fulfilled before I'm ready to die. In forgiveness, I set up conditions to be fulfilled before I'm ready to forgive. Depression. In dying, it's my fault that I'm dying. In forgiveness, it's my fault that I'm hurt. Acceptance. In dying, I look forward to death bringing release from the hurt of dying. In forgiveness, I look forward to growth from the hurt. At each stage, the Lins suggests that we reflect upon a series of questions. For example, taking denial. What are my symptoms of denial? What's healthy about denial? How does denial affect my health? How do I tempt myself when I am in denial? How do others tempt me? How do others help me? What can I do for myself? As the title of their book suggests, it is possible to attempt to forgive before the time is appropriate. In an effort to practice forgiveness, we may suppress the different responses involved in the process and adopt a stance of forgiveness, which, although we believe is genuine, is like the house built upon sand. The process of reconciliation consists of a number of movements. First, the acknowledgement of one's actions. Second, taking responsibility for one's actions. Third, recognition of the consequences of one's actions. Fourth, regret for one's actions. Fifth, metanoia, that is, the desire and move towards a change of heart. And sixth, action, that is, recompense or reparation where possible. What is a good death? The authors of The Future of Health and Care of Older People, The Best Is Yet to Come, set down 12 principles of a good death. These include to know when death is coming and to understand what can be expected, to be able to retain control of what happens, to be afforded dignity and privacy, to have control over pain relief and other symptoms control, to have choice and control over where death occurs, for example, at home or elsewhere, to have access to information and expertise of whatever kind is necessary, to have access to any spiritual or emotional support required, to have access to hospice care in any location, not only in hospital, to have control over who is present and who shares the end, to be able to issue advance directives which ensure wishes are respected, to have time to say goodbye and control over other aspects of timing, and to be able to leave when it is time to go, and not to have life prolonged pointlessly.